I saw the Sonic movie, and it wasn't good. Sonic has had a rocky history when it's come to his transition to 3D, so it was no wonder that when he came stumbling into theaters that it would be an absolute disaster. I mean, from things like the live action, to the bizarre use of Gangsta's Paradise, to, well, this abomination of a live action redesign. I just can't fathom how the creative team at Paramount decided that any of this was worth releasing. Hey guys, it's the Lyoko Gem, and welcome to a very regretful review of the Sonic movie. So, I think the first thing to talk about is the plot of this movie, and oh boy, do I have some words for it. Sonic the Hedgehog is a movie that follows the titular character and his misadventures across the United States with his new best friend, Tom the Cop, played by James Marsden. Right off the bat, the movie punches you in the face with what appears to be baby mutant animals of all sorts of shapes and sizes being experimented on by some sort of unnamed scientist. It goes pretty heavy and brutal on this. We hear all sorts of terrible screams and cries of agony as this dude does horrible experiments on them. It starts the movie off on a kind of traumatizing note, and it had several parents leave the theater with their crying children. But among all of this, a lone prisoner escapes from captivity, and all the agents of Gun try to shoot it down, but they are unable to do so because it's just so fast, and all we see is a blue blur that decimates each and every one of them. I'll admit, this did look a little cool, though the implication that Sonic straight up murders these people is a bit dark. I guess the showrunners wanted to start it off to show people that it wasn't your average furry buddy movie, but this kind of crossed some lines, and I am so sorry for anyone who had to watch this. Still, I decided to power through and get to the next scene. From there, it's daytime, and we are introduced to Tom Wachowski, a badass cop dude who doesn't play by the rules. We meet him as he and some other cops are chasing down a criminal in a ski mask as he makes his getaway with lots of bags of money. Tom, being the amazing cop he is though, decides to cut through a shopping mall and nab the bad guy. It's weird that when he unmasks him, it's revealed to be Takashi Iizuka, but I'm glad that at least he got that cameo he wanted in the Sonic film. Albeit as he's being hauled off to jail, but hey, it's the thought that counts, right? The sheriff of Green Hills Police Department talks to Tom afterwards and tells him that he's got to do things by the book or else he'll have to turn in his badge, and as punishment, he's off on traffic duty on the outskirts of town. We then return to Tom's home where we meet his wife Maddie, played by Tika Sumpter, and she is not at all happy with him about the whole police thing, and she cannot wait to divorce him in just a few days because he's not only irresponsible, but he doesn't know how to show love or compassion to anyone. Now, the whole divorce subplot goes throughout the movie, but in all honesty, Maddie's right. Tom throughout the movie is shown to be kind of a terrible person, and when it comes to the relationship with Sonic, he's really the only one who he's not terrible to. So from there, Tom is chilling out in his car, and suddenly a strange blue blur passes by, like we saw in the trailers. Tom tries to go on the chase, but doesn't catch him. He makes a big deal about it at the police station, but no one believes him. He talks to Tika about it, but she thinks that he's just a crazy jerk who's seeing things. Tom elects that he's gonna catch the blue blur somehow, and we cut to the next day where pretty much the same thing happens again. But this time, from the chase, we follow the blue blur into the woods, and it's revealed to be Sonic. And not only is he as ugly as we all know him to be, but he's straight up barefoot too. Anyway, we get back to his little weird home place, and he does a dialogue about how he's Sonic the Hedgehog and all that jazz. Sonic kind of monologues throughout this film, and it's just really, really strange. But this moves on into him turning on Gangsta's Paradise, and we have a montage of him messing around with and getting chased by Tom. And yes, it does include the gross stretching and everything, only for it to get worse when a power surge crosses the country. The government is then introduced, and they talk about how one of their mutant experiments has escaped, and they have to recruit Dr. Robotnik to catch him. Tom gets a new plan and decides to trap Sonic in a shed, and it actually works, but Tom is surprised when he sees what Sonic really is.
Meow?
From there, Robotnik makes an appearance at the military base, and he pretty much puts himself in charge. Jim Carrey is honestly the only saving grace of this film, and he was a gift throughout. Tom gets Sonic home, and he's unsure of what to do with him, or what he is even, but he wakes up, and he and Tom have a short conversation that leads them to become friends, or well, start to become friends, before Robotnik decides to attack the house, but hey, they get away. From there, we get a pretty much typical action movie mixed in with the furry road trip thing for the next hour-ish, with Sonic and Tom becoming awkward friends, and Tom eventually getting Sonic to get the power to travel to another dimension with his warp rings, and along the way, Sonic helps fix Tom's marriage. It's a trip and a half, and it's just bizarre all the way through. Now, I think I can go on and on about how gross Sonic looks in this film, but I think everyone on the internet has made that abundantly clear. Despite some of the nice animation, Sonic being as painful as he is to look at made this movie really hard to sit through. But let's talk about the characters. Sonic the Hedgehog is a bizarre case because he pretty much has the same issues that he did in Forces. He's only known experimentation throughout his short life, and yet he's as happy-go-lucky as can be, and when Robotnik threatens to have him put on his own operating table, he just shrugs it off. But then it's also strange because Sonic, and to a lesser extent Tom, are so nonchalant when it comes to straight up murdering those who stand against them. And then there's this one bizarre side of the coin where Sonic plays marriage counselor to Tom and Maddie. It gets to the point where Sonic asks Tom,
How is your sex life?
It's just so bizarre. Is Sonic a happy-go-lucky kid, or is he a deranged psychopath who will kill anything in sight? Or is he a marriage counselor? I don't know. Tom the Cop is a terrible human being. And I truly mean a terrible human being. It's bad enough that we're introduced to him running over several pedestrians, but we're also shown he wants his wife to submit to him in any and all forms. This man expects her to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and this is prevalent throughout the entire film. And he does this to everybody. He even does this to the sheriff at some point. How does he keep doing this to people? It's terrible. By the end, he doesn't even really change. Maddie just decides that Sonic is right and he's not so bad. At the very least, the bizarre bond between him and Sonic is not the worst. But, of course, let's not forget that he's the one who kind of encourages Sonic's murderous kill spree throughout the movie and even gets in on the action. I will never forget the time that James Marsden swung a stop sign into a man's head, only for it to go flying, land in a garbage can, and for Sonic to shout, "Ho-ho, 3 points!" He's just a terrible person, and this movie is just so weird. But of course, and I cannot stress this enough, there is one saving grace character in this film, and that of course is Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Now, somehow, Jim Carrey manages to balance the joking weirdo that is the Doctor with the downright menacing and diabolical personality as well. The Mad Doctor truly shined through, and honestly, the fact that he felt a lot better of a person than both Sonic and Tom made me kinda hope that he would win in the end. Of course he didn't, but oh well. And everybody else in the movie had minor to insignificant roles outside of Maddie Wachowski, who absolutely slayed up until the end where she's decided to settle for Tom. Outside of that, what else is wrong with this movie? Well, I've talked a lot about it before, but let's get into the abysmal tonal dissonance that this film has. In one moment, Sonic and Tom will be absolutely slaughtering random pedestrians in a bar. In another scene, they'll be talking about dabbing and what an epic gamer that Ninja is. You'll have Tom making very explicit jokes about him and Maddie's love life and the current lack thereof, only to be followed up with some good old-fashioned toilet humor. I don't understand, honestly. Sometimes the movie wants to be an edgy film that they think adults would like, but only comes off as super cringy. And other times it'll be a movie that comes off with what they think the kids will like, but will also come off as super cringy. This film doesn't know what it is from start to finish, and it's absolute disaster because of it. But at the end of the day, it's still cringy, whether it's for adults or kids. It's a mess. But I think the biggest crime of all in this film is of course the outright disrespect to Sonic fans. This film goes out of its way to make fun of Sonic fans at any chance it gets, and it's absolutely appalling that this film would go so far as to bite the hand that fed it. Outside of little jabs here and there talking about how weirdo basement dwellers think big purple cats are the hottest beings on Earth, and how everybody's obsessed with glitchy werewolves, the biggest offense had to be when Sonic takes off his shoes. When Sonic takes off his shoes, he straight up breaks the fourth wall, looks right at the screen, and talks about how he sure hopes no creepy artists are going to make weird fan art of this, before doing a really bizarre sequence where he does all kinds of suggestive poses with his bare feet front and center as Freakin' You plays in the background for an entire 2 minutes of the whole film's runtime. The Sonic movie is a complete disaster, and I can't imagine who in their right mind thought that this would be a good idea. Paramount has single-handedly destroyed the Sonic brand thanks to this atrocity, and I guess that this is pretty much the end of Sonic Forever. So much for that 30th anniversary, because I don't see this franchise recovering from this ever. Of course, we should all be thankful that we don't live in that dimension. The Sonic movie came out, and not only was it an absolute success, but it was something that fans and non-fans alike could enjoy. Hey everybody, it's Lyoko Gem from our universe, and I decided to make this video as a bit of a joke/fun experiment to see how it would turn out. Since everybody and their brother is doing a movie review for the Sonic movie, I decided to do the same thing, but also a little different, you know, just to stand out a bit. Of course, I did this to hyperbolic levels, but at the end of the day, it's all in good fun. Kind of like that Pontac Forces video I did a few years ago. Of course, I mean no ill will towards the filmmakers in this video, especially since it's just random stuff I made up for fun. But yeah, what did you think of this review? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks so much for watching. And with all of that being said, this has been the Lyoko Gem, a warping out.